What's up, Brooklyn? Thanks for tuning in to Cooking with JIN. I'm your host, JIN. Today we've got an amazing menu for you guys. We've got a spring farro salad, we've got salmon baked in parchment, and we have a deliciously sweet potato cupcakes with marshmallow frosting. This season, each episode will focus on spring produce. We'll travel around New York City and get great food. We'll visit local artisans, and most of all, we'll celebrate the food and culture of Brooklyn. All right, so right now we're gonna start out with the spring farro salad. I think I keep saying it in two different ways. Spring farro salad, farro, spring salad, doesn't matter, same thing. So we are gonna start with the farro. Farro is a whole grain, and you kind of eat it like rice. You can eat it for breakfast, or you can eat it in this salad that we're gonna make today. You can first start out by pouring it in some boiling water. Make sure you add a little bit of salt to make it nice and salty, just like when you make rice. We're gonna give this about 20 minutes to cook and absorb the water. So sometimes when you're in the kitchen, you may not have everything at the table. Like right now, I'm missing a spoon. So I'm gonna use my knife really quick just to stir the farro in the pot a little bit. And then we're gonna let that come to a boil. Let me grab a lid. So now that we have our farro boiling, we're gonna go ahead and start with our asparagus and chop it up. We wanna chop off the rough ends because they're not very appetizing. So we'll just get rid of that. And we'll do probably about roughly an inch of chopping. We'll chop them into 1-inch pieces. So we'll chop off the ends and give us 1-inch pieces. And then the same is gonna go for the spring onions. We wanna make sure that we add all of the onions. We'll cut off the ends here, and then we'll slice it up. The leafy part and the thicker part, the whole thing will go into our salad. It'll give it a nice crunchy and peppery flavor. Spring onions, also called scallions, are very up and running right now in the spring. You can find them everywhere and anywhere. This is the best time to get them from your farmers markets and your nearby farmers, anywhere you are right now where it's nice and warm. So now I'm gonna cut off the ends. Everything is washed and everything is organic that we're using today. I'm gonna cut off the roots, and then we're just gonna slice it up. I like to bunch things up so that it saves me time when I'm slicing, and I usually slice the thicker end first. And I just go all the way up the stalk of the spring onion. And just scoop it all up and put it in our bowl. Some other great parts to add some delicious flavor to our farro salad. We're gonna use a bunch of herbs. We're gonna use some dill, some fresh basil, as well as fresh parsley. That's gonna go into our salad. But before I chop that up, I'm just gonna get a nice big handful of the snow peas. Now there are a couple of ways that you can cut this. If you have kitchen shears, you can just grab them and just start cutting them up. So I'm gonna grab some kitchen shears and do that right now. Thanks, Daphna. Daphna just passed over the shear, so I didn't have to go and get them. So I'm gonna bring my bowl over, and I'm just gonna stack a bunch of the snow peas together and just use my kitchen shears to cut them like this, nice and quickly. So for those of you who are afraid of using a knife, kitchen shears definitely come in handy. You can use them to cut up meat. I like to use it to chop up a whole bird, like a whole chicken. You can cut them at the joints. These are very, very sharp. I also use it for turkey. I also use it for fish. If I have a whole fish and I want to quickly just cut it up. I just grab the fish and I cut off the tails, and then I cut them, you know, in maybe like 3 different parts. I'll cut off the head, the tails, and then in 3 different parts, depending on how long the fish is. I know that some of the things are not cutting off all the way, but that's okay. You don't have to be perfect. We just want it to be good. So before I finish with the snow peas, we're gonna go and check on our farro. All right, Brooklyn, so I'm gonna be real with you guys. We started our first pot of farro and it burned on us. So Daphne, our director, was eating it out of the burnt bowl. Here it is here, but we're making another batch. So that's okay, that happens in everyone's kitchen, right? So now we're gonna move on to the next step. So while the second batch of farro is cooking, we're gonna go ahead and chop up some fresh herbs. We're gonna use some dill, parsley, and basil to freshen up our salad. So the concept behind cooking with JIN. Cooking with JIN is just all about using seasonal, local, and fresh ingredients and cooking dishes that are affordable. Going down to your local Associated, Bravo, your hood supermarket, and being able to pick out some healthy ingredients and making an amazing meal, simply. This is pretty much where we need it to be. Maybe a few more chops through. And what I'll do next is put the whole thing together. We're gonna put our chopped spring veggies, our farro, some lemon juice and some olive oil, salt and pepper, and the herbs. We'll toss it all together and make a wonderful spring salad. So it's getting a little messy. So I'm gonna clean up the table a little bit. And one thing I love to do is compost. Composting is very important because you can take your kitchen scraps and you can bring them back into your garden and bring nutrients into the food that you're growing. So let's clean up all this stuff here, get it off the table. This is the scraps from the scallions and the asparagus and the burnt farro. And we are going to finish up with the rest of this farro. It's ready to go. We're actually gonna rinse it off in some cool water to cool it down, and then we're gonna put the whole salad together. So we are ready to go. So our farro is nicely cooked. It's been rinsed with some cold water to cool it down. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna dress it. We're going to add it to the veggies that we chopped earlier. Actually, I will add it this way. So I'm gonna scoop some in. So it looks like a lot of veggies, but we should eat all of our veggies, right? And I'm just gonna mix all of this together. And then I'm gonna sprinkle some of the herbs. And so now we're gonna make a vinaigrette to go on top of it. So we're gonna add some salt, some freshly cracked pepper, some olive oil, a couple of tablespoons of olive oil, and a couple of tablespoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice. And we'll just toss this all together. It smells amazing. And this is a very healthy, very springy salad. And like I said, farro, you can use it like rice. You can be a side. You can make just plain old farro with as a side. You can make it into a porridge, like a morning cereal. You can make it sweet. You can make it savory. And today we're making a nice savory cold salad version of it. So this is the finished product. And this is going to be delicious. So now we're gonna get started on the next recipe. It's gonna be sweet potato cupcakes with a marshmallow frosting. It's gonna be so delicious. So we're gonna use fresh sweet potatoes, not that canned stuff. We're gonna stick with the fresh. So we've already baked our sweet potatoes, and what we're gonna do is go ahead and puree them in a food processor. So all you have to do is once it's baked, the skin is very easy to come off. You just peel off the skin and drop it in the food processor and give it a few pulses and it'll be ready to go. In this recipe, we're gonna need about 16 ounces of sweet potato. So that's gonna be equivalent to these 5 that we have here. So the steps. What we're gonna do is take all the powdered ingredients and mix them together in a small bowl. So I'll go ahead and do that now. We've got the flour, we've got the baking soda, baking powder, and we're gonna do a couple of pinches of salt. and cinnamon. And we'll just whisk it together in a bowl, make sure it's all incorporated. And then the next step is we're going to cream the butter and the sugar so that we have nice, smooth, fluffy cupcakes. So what we'll have to do is take our butter, get it in, scoop it into the bowl. It's softened butter, and we have about 16 ounces or 16 tablespoons of butter. This is sugar, and I'm going to use a hand electric mixer and cream it all together. Once it's all incorporated, we can slowly add in our eggs. We're gonna have 3 eggs. Just add one at a time. You see how creamy it's getting? Looks amazing. Let's add the next egg. Okay. So what's in store for this season? We have so many great episodes to come. We are going to be collaborating with several chefs. We've got Indian food. We've got a cheesemonger who's going to come on, and we're going to make fresh cheese. We have a fitness specialist who's going to come on, and we're going to work out together because I need some help. And we are going to work out, and we're going to come up with some great pre and post workout foods. And then there's just going to be a lot of other things using the seasonal ingredients from the spring. So you guys definitely have to stay tuned. We have a lot of fun things coming for you this season. Now that the butter and sugar is creamed and the eggs are in, we're going to add our 16 ounces of sweet potato. And now we're gonna fold in our flour mixture. So the mixture is all ready to go. It tastes divine. And what I'm gonna do is go ahead and use an ice cream scooper to evenly scoop some of the batter into each of our cupcake cups. But really quick, I want to tell you my secret, and I'm sharing this with you guys. You cannot tell anyone else. But the secret to all of my cupcakes is my homemade vanilla bean extract. How do I do this? I use real vanilla beans and loads of vodka, and I let it sit for months, maybe 3 months. And it will get this beautiful color and this very sweet vanilla extract taste. So I use this in all of the goods that I bake at home and for my business. So if you guys want to learn more, you can go to my website, www.jinsjourney.com, and I'll have the full recipe on how to make your own vanilla extract. Now let's move on. So this is all ready to go. This is the sweet potato cupcakes. Now, I know a lot of people think about sweet potatoes as a cupcake. That's kind of gross. Actually, it's very delicious. It's nice and sweet and decadent. I actually served this to a group of youth that I was working with, and I didn't tell them what it was. They had to guess what the main ingredient was. None of them guessed that it was sweet potatoes. They guessed all sorts of things. But the cinnamony flavor in it, they were lost on to try and figure out what vegetable I actually used. And when I told them sweet potatoes, they fell in love. And ever since then, every time they see me, they always ask me to make them these special cupcakes. And once you guys try this at home, I guarantee that you will fall in love just like those kids. So we're gonna make marshmallow frosting with egg whites, sugar, cream of tartar, and vanilla. So while the cupcakes are in the oven smelling good, we are gonna go ahead and get started on the marshmallow frosting. So I'm gonna show you really quickly how to separate an egg, because we need the egg whites for this recipe. So we'll crack it on the side of the little bowl here. And what I like to do is take the two ends of my cracked egg and just keep dropping the yolk in between the two halves until I get all of the egg white out into my bowl. Very easy trick. And this is all compost. So we'll put this to the side and maybe we'll make some sort of custard out of that, lemon custard. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this bowl. This is boiling water and we're gonna make a double boiler. So we're gonna put our bowl on top of the boiling water. We're gonna pour our egg whites in. We're gonna add our sugar, 2 cups of sugar, cream of tartar, and then we're gonna go ahead and whisk it. We're gonna whisk this until it gets to about 160 degrees. We're gonna see a nice white, silky look, silky marshmallow look. Once this starts to get to 160 degrees, and we'll know that by the consistency. We'll just keep watching this until we get there. When it gets to 160, we're gonna transfer this off of this pot, and then we're gonna use an electric mixer to give us a nice, thick, silky marshmallow frosting. So here we are at the consistency. It's at 160 degrees. It's nice and white and shiny. And now we're gonna add the vanilla and use the electric whisk to thicken it up some more. So let's give this a quick taste. Ooh, look at that, nice and thick. Homemade marshmallow. Look at that. How did I get started? I started cooking when I was 9 years old, living with a single mom. She had 3 kids in the house and I was the oldest, and she just looked to me to make sure that I can cook dinner when I got home from school for my brothers. All right, so now we have our sweet potato cupcakes all ready to go. We've got our freshly homemade marshmallow frosting, and we've got a little bit of cinnamon and sugar here. So let's put this together. Let's grab a cupcake and grab a little bit of the marshmallow, just spoon a little bit on the top. And let's sprinkle a little bit of the cinnamon sugar. And here we go. We have a beautiful sweet potato cupcake with marshmallow frosting. Some of the influences that led me to JIN's journey, I would say my mother and my grandmother, who are both Jamaican, and just learning how to cook traditional Jamaican meals. And then I started watching Julia Child. Julia Child was amazing to me. I loved her chemistry on TV. I love the food that she made. I love the French style, and I love the long processes that she went through with some of the dishes. And I went and tried them and experimented and tried my own dishes. So I would say Julia Child definitely had a lot to do with influencing me in cooking. So we're gonna make the salmon in parchment paper. This is super easy. It only takes about 20 minutes once you're done. So we're gonna use regular parchment paper, and we're gonna fold it in half, okay? And then what we're gonna do is enclose the salmon in this paper. So first things first, we are gonna add some olive oil to the paper on both sides and just spread it out. Just use our hands and just kind of spread it all out. And then we're gonna grab our salmon. And we don't need this whole piece, so what I'm gonna do is actually cut a little bit off. Woo. We'll edit out all this stuff. You guys don't need to see me struggling with this salmon. Tough skin. All right. So once we put the oil on the parchment paper, we'll add our salmon, and then we're going to sprinkle some salt and pepper on top. We're going to add some fresh herbs. We could just rip some off. This is some fresh dill. Maybe we'll get a little bit of some fresh parsley. Put in here. And then we're gonna add some fresh squeezed lemon juice. we'll squeeze a little bit on top. And then what I'll do is I'll actually slice up a lemon slice and just put it right on top of the salmon. Like this. Very simple. Now we're going to enclose the parchment paper. All you have to do is fold it on top. And if you feel like you have too much paper, what we could do is we can rip off some of the paper here around, or you can grab some scissors. We don't need to have a whole bunch of kitchen supplies to do this. Okay? Once you do that, you just start folding the paper around the salmon. What we're doing is trying to seal in all of the moisture, which is going to steam the salmon while it's in the oven. You can take this little extra piece and fold it right under. And what we'll do is go ahead and make a second little pouch for a second piece of salmon, and we'll put it in the oven. So now we're all done. We've got the salmon in the parchment bags, and we're gonna go ahead and put it in the oven at 350 degrees for 10 to 15 minutes. We'll take it out, let it rest for about 5 minutes, and it'll be ready to eat. When I was thinking about what it was that I really wanted to do with my life, cooking was the thing that always stood out. And I decided to create JIN's Journey back in 2008. And I started cooking for people and charging them and teaching cooking classes. And I also got into farming, urban farming, and just everything just naturally fell into place. So the salmon's ready to go. Let's take it out the oven and plate our meal. Look at that, nice and puffy. We'll give it about 5 minutes to rest. So now we're at the finish line. All we have to do is open up this salmon, so let's take a look. Look at all of that, nice and juicy, it's beautiful. Ooh. You can actually eat it right out of the bag, or if you're like me and you want to have a nice pretty plate, you can just take it, open it up, take it out and put it on your plate. So let me grab this nice big juicy piece. I love salmon. Put it right here on my plate. Let's add a little bit of extra. And look at that. Doesn't this look amazing? So again, we've got salmon baked in parchment paper with a little bit of herbs and lemon juice and olive oil, salt and pepper. We've got farro with some asparagus and snow peas and some herbs. And for dessert, we're gonna have a delicious sweet potato cupcake with some homemade marshmallow frosting. It's gonna be amazing. So let me go ahead and dig in. All right, let's try this farro. Nice and nutty. Very moist, full of flavor. Let's try this salmon. Yes, still a little pink. That's the way I like it. Nice and flaky. Delicious. Only in 15 minutes. And I want you guys to see me bite into this dessert. Let me clear my palate really quick. All right, let's try this cupcake. It looks so good, it's nice and warm. Okay, you guys ready for this? Ready for this? I think I'm gonna finish this first before I go back to that. but this was really, really good. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Cooking with Jin. Look out for us every week for the spring. You can catch us on Brick. You can also catch us on YouTube or on our website, www.jinsjourney.com. And please send me any questions. If there's anything that you'd like to see me cook, just send me a request on Twitter, on Facebook at Jin's Journey, hashtag Cooking with Jin. I can't wait to see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. And please try out this meal and let me know what you think. So the concept behind Cooking with Jin. Cooking with Jin is just all about using seasonal, local, and fresh ingredients and cooking dishes that are affordable. Going down to your local Associated, Bravo, your hood supermarket, and being able to pick out some healthy ingredients and making an amazing meal, simply. So every episode you watch, we will have simple ingredients and we will create these amazing dishes that you can easily make at home, and it's affordable.
Hey Jen, what have you got cooking in the kitchen? Hey Jen, what have you got cooking?